Jake Humphrey's Platinum Sports Picks round 15 of the NRL is upon us. And last weekend, we had a bit of an up and down week, which has been the trend over the last month or so. We had a very, very hot start to the season. We're now plus 32 stakes total on the year. And for the people who don't really understand what plus 32 stakes means, basically, stakes is a kind of a unit of measurement that us punters are able to use, and we're able to use that and take away any kind of monetary expressions. So, anyone can measure a staking total or a stakes profit at $10 bettors, $100 bettors, $1,000 bettors. What you do is you establish your base stake. For example, I might be a $100 better. Jimmy down the street might be a $500 better. My uncle Murray might be a $10 better. And all of those people are able to measure their running stakes total. So, for example, if somebody puts $10 on a bet that is paying $1.90 and it wins, you get $9 profit, which is 0.9 of a stake. So then your running stakes total is plus 0.9, and therefore so on and so forth. It's kind of used widely for us, and it makes it a lot easier for us to kind of express how much we've won, because I can't say, I've won X amount of dollars if everybody's betting a different size of money than me. So the best way to say it is we say plus something RST or running stakes total, whatever. And it's the best way to do it. And it's a lot better than just saying, we've got a 20-10 record or a 5-3 record, because no one's taking into the account the odds of the bets or the juice you're giving up or anything like that. The best way is to use the stakes terminology, and that's the best way to do it. And for the people who don't understand a lot, when we post a play saying, Los Angeles Dodgers money line today, $1.76, one stake. Well, figure out what your stake is. Have a base stake that you're going to be betting on everything. And then if we say one stake, you put one stake on it. If we say 0.25 stakes, you put a quarter stake on it. If we say two stakes, you put two stakes on it. And we stake very carefully, and the amount of stakes that we place on each bet is an accurate reflection of our confidence in the strength of the pick. So take it very seriously. Don't throw one stake on everything. Abide by the staking restrictions, and you will profit the same as we do, which has just been fantastically recently. Now, I've got 30 minutes on air to talk to you guys about round 15 of the NRL, but first I want to do a quick recap of round 14, because we do have a lot of time. I've got 30 minutes on air right now, but because there is a kind of a shortened round due to the Origin, we've got some time to talk about round 14. The first game on Thursday night in round 14 was the Brisbane Broncos playing host to the Canberra Raiders, and we had the Brisbane Broncos minus 9.5, and that bet lost. I think that it's quite realistic for me to say that we were very unlucky in that game. We had a conversion by Jared Croker in the 77th minute that put our line bet out of contention, but Kurt Baptiste scored a try in the 77th minute. They had two tries from dummy half in the second half. I believe the score was 24-0 at one stage. Yes, it was 24-0 just after halftime, and we thought it was all going to be smooth sailing, and the Raiders gave us a traditional backdoor cover. That's what you call it. And I think that 8 times out of 10 or 7 times out of 10, the Broncos would have been able to cover that line on that Friday night fixture, but it didn't happen that way, and we started off 0-2, 0-1 rather. The second game was the West Tigers versus the South Sydney Rabbitohs. We lost a bet there as well. We had the South Sydney Rabbitohs to score over 21.5 team points, and they only scored 14. I don't believe they would have. They didn't really look like scoring 22 points at any stage. However, I will suggest that some poor goal kicking from the Rabbitohs didn't help us. They could have been at 18 points. I think they had a no try at the end of the game. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I think 14 points is a fair reflection of how the Rabbitohs played, and they just don't look good at all right now. The West Tigers, there's a big difference between their best day and their worst day, but that was close to their best day on Friday night against a team who they've already beaten once this season. They've obviously got quite a bit of confidence in that fixture. Mitchell Moses and Luke Brooks need to click when they want to win a game, and they looked reasonably good. good, along with guys like Kevin Nguama and Chris Lawrence, who are really, taking a positive stride this year. And the Tigers find themselves in 13th position on 12 competition points, much the same as the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, the next game after that was the Newcastle Knights playing host to the New Zealand Warriors. The Knights lost 50-14. We had over 46.5 and Solomone Kata to score a try at any time. The over was $1.90 and Solomone Kata, I believe, was $1.80 at Ladbrokes. Really ridiculous odds for Solomone Kata, a guy who is just barging over the line. He's the leading try scorer for the Warriors. He's very hard to hold out, and the Knights really don't have any notable defensive centres. And it did take about 70 minutes for Kata to score, but when he did get the try, I really wasn't surprised. He probably should have scored more than once in that game, maybe earlier on in the fray, but he didn't. But, we only needed him to get one try. I also quoted to one of my clients that the Ladbrokes had a special for the Warriors to score, for the Warriors to win and Solomone Kata to score, paying $3. That was giving away money, in my opinion. If you got on that, I know I personally got on that, then good stuff. We went to 2-2 after that game. The overs cashed easily. The second game. Now, this game here, the Parramatta Eels versus the Gold Coast Titans, we had a half-time, full-time bet. We opted for the Eels into the Titans. That didn't pay off at 0.25 stakes, so we dropped to 2-3 there. If you're talking about overall win-loss, 2-3 after that one. The next game after that was the Sydney Roosters playing host to the Melbourne Storm. We had the Roosters to score under 15.5 team points, which obviously cleared by 15 points. They produced a bagel in that game, 46-0 to the Storm, who continue to impress. And we are on the Storm to win the grand final. That was bet in round 3 at $11, and we are on that right now, and it couldn't look better. So that was 3-3 at that point. Then after that, we had Manly plus 6.5 against the Panthers. And if you want to talk about bad beats, you've probably got the worst beat in my punting career right there. Manly were winning 24 points to 4 with about 35 minutes left, and the Panthers turned on the Jets, scored a bunch of late tries, 27 unanswered points to be precise. Peter Wallace missed a conversion to stretch the margin out to 8 at the very end, and I thought perhaps we would be home, but in the back of my mind, I always knew that the Panthers would want to kick a field goal at the very end just to consolidate their performance, and Matty Moylan struck one with about 2 minutes left, and that was it. That was the nail in the coffin. Manly was one of my strongest bets of the week, and we went down burning on that one. I will add something into it after we went 3-4 in that one. The Broncos game and the Manly game, they provided a promotional bet with Bet365 for the in-play offer. And what we've been doing as a group, we've been posting reminders saying, hey, look, here's our play for the Broncos game, here's our play for the Manly game. But remember, you've got the in-play offer, which Bet365 allows you to place a pre-match bet up to $100. And that you'll be your first in-play bet up to the size of your largest pre-match bet will be refunded if it's a loss. So I think that most of the clients are on those in-play opportunities. I know a couple of people might have bet Brisbane to win 1-12. I know several people did bet the Panthers to win 1-12. So I think that if I wanted two games to, if I wanted to cop a robbery in 2 games, I'm happy that it was during the in-play promo, because I know that a lot of clients sort of were able to bounce back on that on the in-play offer. So we then went to 3-4 after that game on Sunday. The first game that we had on Monday, we lost. We had the Dragons plus 8.5, and we also had the Dragons to score under 14.5 total team points, and they both lost. We slipped to 3-6 on the week. My read on the Dragons is that the Dragons, they're quite a well-coached team. They play good defence. They don't make a lot of errors, but the problem is their forward pack is a little bit small. They were exposed through the middle of the ruck over the weekend, and a team like the Bulldogs, who have a very good track record against the Dragons, were able to capitalise on a small forward pack. And the Bulldogs they needed to get a win sooner rather than later. They were sliding a little bit. They had 2 losses in a row. And they got the job done against the Dragons, and I kind of underestimated the Bulldogs there and perhaps overestimated the Dragons a little bit. We fell to 3-6. Knowing that we needed a bounce back on Monday night, the Sharks versus the Cowboys, Josh and I put our heads together and we came up with 2 bets under 38.5 total match points, and either team to win by 11.5 or under. So basically, we were predicting a close, low-scoring game. That's exactly what happened. We went to 5-6 on the week. I think we dropped a stake But we were able to keep our head above water, and as I said, we were able to hopefully make some money back on that Bet365 promotion, which everyone has been capitalising on. And you guys should start to capitalise on it too. The reason I'm addressing you guys, or I'm addressing other people other than my clients, is because I'm going to post this this podcast in a group, and just a message to the people who do end up listening to this podcast. If you think that I'm trying to poach people right now and take people away from a group, which I've gotten in trouble for before, I'm not trying to do that at all right now. The podcast and the picks that I post in the group will be 100% free, and that's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to drag anyone away. I'm giving you my insight and just making it aware that I do have a service. Also, if you want to join up to that, that is completely your decision. But I'm not going to be taking people and running. I'm looking to contribute into these groups long term. So whether it be Massive W Sports Tips, Legit Picks, Sports Betting Forum, all of these places, I will be looking to contribute long term. I won't be contributing everything, but I certainly will be staying active in the group. And I've already posted a pick this morning. I'm going to keep doing so, just to try and prove to you guys that I do know what I'm talking about and I can give you guys winners. So I hope you guys are able to tail as many bets as you can, including the rugby league ones that I will be sending in for free this week. I'm going to try and just get a wealth of free picks coming in and just help everyone, just trying to help everyone out. And yeah, that's just about it. So don't try to think that I'm posting this in poor taste or with a hidden agenda. There's no secret that I do have clients. There's no secret that I do run a service. But this is a different kettle of fish. This is just me posting a podcast in the group, trying to spark some chat about the rugby league and just trying to help you guys out, essentially. Now, let's get started on round 15. Round 15 of the NRL, we have a 4-game card. It doesn't look very good when you talk about the matchups that we've got on paper. However, it is the NRL, and we normally see 1 or 2 games decided by, a handful of points. So I would like to think that we're going to have a couple of entertaining games here. And I actually feel like there's some opportunities here to have some nice wins. I'm just going to open up, let's open up Bet365 right now, and just so I can get a grasp of the totals and the lines that we've got happening for these games. The first game is a Friday night fixture between the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Parramatta Eels. The Eels had a big bounce back win. I won't call it a bounce back because they'd beaten the Knights the week prior, but I think that what the Eels did well on the weekend was they had a real dig. It would be very easy for the Eels players to go into a shell and kind of spit the dummy after getting all of their competition points taken off them, but they've actually had 2 wins in a row right now, and I believe they had a bye thrown in there as well, which will put them on 6 competition points after the stripping happened. So, I'm pretty impressed with the way they got things done against the Titans team, who I've been touting as being one of the most underrated teams in the NRL. They've got an incredible ATS record, which means against the spread. So if you bet the Titans at the plus or minus line each week, you'd be rolling in it pretty much. So, yeah, I've been impressed with how the Titans have gone, but I was even more impressed with the Eels on the weekend. Corey Norman is 5th in the Dally M tally, and he continues to lead by the front week in, week out, with guys like Kieran Foran and Brad Takarang out. He's taking an increased workload on his shoulders, and he's doing a very, very good job with that workload. They were able to beat the Titans in Darwin. As I said, this week they play against the Rabbitohs, and the Rabbitohs have been really, really poor. But the Rabbitohs were poor around 6-7 weeks ago when they were able to beat the Eels at Pertex Stadium, which was the first game after we did find out that the Eels would no longer be playing for competition points, and that was actually in round 10. So I guess five weeks onwards, the Rabbitohs will see the Eels again in a fixture where they probably got some happy memories, given the fact they were able to beat them 22 points to 20 just over a month ago. In this game, Cody Walker and Luke Keary team up in the halves. And Cody Walker, I think, has been someone for the Bunnies who's been really impressive. He's, played several different positions. He had a very good game against the Dragons a few weeks ago where he scored off a grubber-and-go try. He's a live-wire kind of player, really plays off the cuff, and I do like watching him play. And I think Luke Keary is a perfect partner for him because he's more of a system-type player with a bit more structure. Still has a bit of flair about him, Keary, but Cody Walker is certainly the more flamboyant of the two. And Greg Inglis and Adam Reynolds are obviously away on Origin duty, and for the Eels, Vaitai replaces Michael Jennings in the centres, and that's their only change this week. So you talk about a Parramatta team that aren't losing too much. I mean, obviously Michael Jennings is a very dynamic player out in the centres, but they've still got quite a lot of talented people, even after some of the guys they've been forced to let go of. Parramatta Eels have got Denny Wicks and Daniel Alvaro in the front row, both got Manu Mau and Tepai Maroa, Corey Norman and Kenny Edwards in the halves, Clinton Gutherson, Semi Radraja and Michael Gordon. So this Parramatta Eels team, given the way that they're playing lately, which is quite they're playing quite motivated footy, I think they're going to be a dangerous proposition for the Rabbitohs. But also, the Rabbitohs, I guess people are just waiting for them to turn it on. I personally don't think it's going to happen at any point this year, and I'm kind of done with backing the Bunnies. But I am aware that they did beat Parramatta a few weeks ago by that narrow margin, and I think they will draw some confidence from that. If I'm looking right here, the total for this one is 39.5. Parramatta to win is $1.65, and the Rabbitohs to win is $2.25. I personally think this is the most difficult game of the week to pick, because both of these teams can be pretty unpredictable. So in terms of the leans for this podcast, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the podcast, and then in about 24 hours, or maybe a little bit longer, I'm going to post the full weekend of picks in the groups. So for this one, if you ask me for a lean right off the bat, I probably couldn't give you one, to be honest. I think that these two teams could trend under in this game, 39.5 being probably a couple of notches above what I think it should be. However, the NRL lately is producing a lot of overs results. I think about 70% of the last two rounds have been overs, so I will tread carefully with that one. Now, the next game is Saturday night. We've got the St. George Illawarra Dragons playing host to the Melbourne Storm in what I would believe to be the lowest release total of the week. Of the year, rather, 33.5. The Dragons come into this one as a $1.82 price on the 3.5 line, and a $1.58 head-to-head price, the Storm plus 3.5. This game for me, I think the Storm, I do believe this line has been driven in the Storm's favour. I think they were plus 6 or something like that. We've had a lot of action on the Melbourne Storm, I think due to the fact that people are looking at this Storm lineup and thinking, okay, well, Cooper Cronk and Cameron Smith are the only two players out. Let me just double check that. Blake Green returns to the side and will wear the number 7, with Cooper Cronk and Cameron Smith on origin duty, with Kenny Bromwich named at hooker, and Matt White and young Tonomapia joining the bench. So yeah, Cooper Cronk and Cameron Smith are the only two omissions from the team. And let's be realistic. Those two guys, the Storm wouldn't be anywhere near where they are without those two guys, but the Storm are still a team. They've still got good defensive structure. They've still got a very good coach in Craig Bellamy. They've still got guys like Cameron Munster, guys like Kenny Bromwich, guys like Kevin Proctor. They have a relatively good footy side. And I think that after the Dragons played a pretty down match on Sunday, people are thinking, well, hey, the Storm are first on the ladder for a reason. Maybe they can grind this one out. I would tend to agree with that theory. However, I'm not too keen on taking the Storm plus the points because, the last time the Dragons had a game on the Origin break, they beat the North Queensland Cowboys, and you saw that the Cowboys really struggled against the Dragons without their main playmakers. And I think that we could see something similar to that this weekend with the Storm. I'm looking right now, and I think my favourite play for this game would be, there's a market on Bet365 under the team section, and it's called Team to Reach 20 Points No. And the Dragons are listed there as $1.72 to not reach 20 points. And as we all know, the Storm have failed. All the Storm's opponents have failed to score 20 points against them. The Storm have never conceded 20 points all season. I'm not sure it's going to happen here against the Dragons team, who don't very often put up 20 points. I think the Storm will lose a lot in attack without Cameron Smith and Cooper Cronk, but the grit that they've got on defence should still stand. This game is played in Wynn Stadium down in Wollongong, which for me just reeks of unders. I think most of the time the Dragons go down and play in Wynn Stadium. You can normally get a bit of choppy wind, a bit of drizzle, perhaps. So I think this game really seems like an unders fixture for mine. But with a total like 33.5, it is extremely low. I think I would prefer to play the Dragons under 18.5 total points. And, this is a reflection of the Dragons having a really bad attack, and also a reflection of the Storm having the best defence in the competition. They're continually pitching shutouts, continually frustrating opposition teams. And I think that the Storm here will hold the Dragons to 14, 16, or maybe even 18 points. And they may lose the game to the tune of 18-6, 18-10, 18-12, something like that. But I do believe they will keep the Dragons under 18.5 total points. And at the moment, that's an early lean that I've got. I'm not releasing it on the card yet, but it is something that I do like looking forward. Now, Sunday, the New Zealand Warriors versus the Sydney Roosters. Now, what I did was, as soon as the Roosters got toasted by the Storm on Saturday night, I went to Odds Checker. I saw on William Hill that the Warriors were paying $1.57 for their match against the Roosters. I knew that there'd be Origin players out for the Roosters. players like, Boyd Cordner's out anyway. Mitchell Pearce is out anyway. So if you think about it, the Roosters don't really have Origin players out. They've just got injuries. I'm trying to think who else the Roosters are missing as a result of Origin off the top of my head. I can't really think of anything. Aiden Guerra, perhaps, is in that Queensland team. Whether he's in the Queensland team or not, he's not in this Roosters team. Sean Kenny-Dow returns. Blake Ferguson, there's one. There's a player who's missing, who offers a lot for the Roosters. And the Warriors are clicking along nicely, and everybody knows that the Warriors are renowned for picking up points during this Origin period, and it's exactly what they're going to want to continue to do. Right now, the Warriors are sitting in 9th position. It's likely they'll finish inside the top 8 with a win here. Let me just look at that and kind of think about that statement I just made. The Panthers are there, the Canberra Raiders are there. Okay, so the Warriors won't end up inside the top 8 after this round, just because the two teams above them have byes. So those two teams will be pushed up even further. But the Warriors can certainly be, within reaching distance of the top 8 with a win here. They can continue to progress forward and put themselves on 16 competition points. And I think they will be able to do that. So I did release a play in my personal group for the Warriors, which was $1.57. And right now, what you're looking at for the Warriors is going to be something like $1.40. And that's not something that we're going to play on the money line at all. It is $1.35. This is incredible. The movement on this line is really, really amazing. It's gone in quite a lot. Do I think the Warriors will win? Absolutely. Do I think they'll cover 8.5? Maybe not. I think the Warriors there at $1.35 is going to be a good option for us to use some sort of two-team parlay. With what that is, I'm not too sure yet. But I do think that the Warriors, for a multi, is probably what we're going to end up going with, as I don't really love the minus 8.5. Let me have a look at what my boy Solomon Akata is to score a try. He plays in the left centre. He's playing this weekend, and he will be opposing, I think he'll be opposing Sean Kenny-Dow. Look, I don't really care who he's opposing. I think Qatar's going to score. He scores very often. He's paying $1.66 on Bet365 to score a try. Let me open up Odds Checker and see what odds I can get him for elsewhere. I'm sure that somewhere like Ladbrokes or William Hill might be offering, about 10 cents more. Solomon Qatar, here he goes. There we go. On William Hill, $1.91. Not too sure on William Hill's logic there, but $1.91 there. And that's going to almost certainly be a play that I've got for this game. So circle that one, Solomon Qatar and the Warriors head-to-head to use for some sort of parlay. I might give you the second leg, or I might just say, all right, well, here's one leg, figure out the other one yourself. Now that game's done with, let's go to the very last game of the week, where we have the Manly Sea Eagles travelling up north to play the Gold Coast Titans. Now. Let me tell you something. I don't want to come in here and kind of, give you guys the impression that I'm acting like a know-it-all, or that I've got a big head or something. But I will. Let me teach you a lesson. I'll tell you something, at least one thing that I can help you with in sports betting. Basically, the Manly Sea Eagles cost me large last week. Okay, we had 2 stakes on them plus 6.5. Now, something that I've heard a lot of people say in the past is that, I can't back that team again. They stuffed me last week. I can't bet Manly because every time I bet Manly, I lose. Or, I don't think that kind of mentality is a very good one. What you've got to understand about week-to-week sports like this, like the NRL, like American football, like Super Rugby, whatever, every week is a different week, and you shouldn't be deterred from betting on a team just because you've had a loss on them the week before. I'll give you an example. I'm trying to think of a baseball series in recent times where we bet on someone. Say, for example, let's just throw a random series out. Say, for example, the Yankees are playing the Tigers, okay? And I think this was a recent series. If you bet the Tigers in Game 1 and they lose, you shouldn't be deterred from betting the Tigers in Game 2 just because they've lost in Game 1. Every game's different. Every game, has a wide array of possibilities, and I think that this Manly Sea Eagles line at plus 6.5, it's all too familiar. It's going to start bringing back nightmares for some of my clients and myself as well. However, I do like the look of this Manly plus 6.5 line straight away. I love the Titans a lot as a team, but I don't believe they're a team who are built to cover lines like that. Let me read something from the Manly Seagulls report on NRL.com that makes me want to bet on them even more. A couple of big ins with Martin Tapau coming back from suspension at prop, and Jamie Lyon has been named to return from a hamstring injury at 5/8. Matt Parcelli is worth holding for at least as long as Daly Cherry Evans is out of the side. I think that's fantasy talk, while the Trbojevic brothers continue to impress, with Tom a week away from becoming a dual position player now that he's playing in the centres. So this Manly Seagulls team, I guess, is getting a little bit stronger, and they showed they were capable last week. The only issue that I have is that Dylan Walker is out, who did look so good at times last weekend, but they've got Coruscant in halfback with Jamie Lyon. Everyone knows that I love Coruscant in halfback. I think that Manly are a much better team with him in halfback, even over Daly Cherry Evans. They've got their back line from 7 to 1 is Coruscant, Lyon, Braden Williame, Trbojevic, Matthew Wright, George Tafua, and Brett Stewart. It's not a horrible back line. It's not a horrible back line at all. I think plus 6.5 is a pretty big line for a team like Manly, who, I want to say they're playing spirited footy. They're trying hard. Trying hard doesn't count for much in the NRL, because I'm pretty sure the Knights try hard every week, but they end up getting smacked by 50 every weekend. But I think Manly are getting closer and closer to playing a decent performance. I know I might sound like a broken record, because I have backed Manly quite a bit against the spread in the last month, and I think I've lost more times than I've won, but I am willing to do it again in this round against the Titans, who are missing Greg Bird, and Greg Bird is such a vital member of this Titans team. And I think that without him, they're going to lose a lot. They're going to lose a lot of leadership in the front row. In the back row, rather. They're going to lose a lot of starch, a lot of aggression. And I just want to have a look really quickly to see who else the Titans had out. Off the top of my head, I think Greg Bird's the only player who's in the Origin mix. Nathan Davis has been named to return at centre, with Conrad Hurrell to wear his now customary number 18 jersey. Ignatius Parsi starts at lock for Greg Bird, while Ryan Simpkins joins the bench. Ryan James is averaging close to 60 points per game this season, fantasy talk, while Ashley Taylor has just about peaked in price. Okay, so basically what we're looking at here is a Titans team without Greg Bird, and a Titans team without Greg Bird is a very, very different team. Let's have a look if I can get some previews from the guys at NRL.com. I don't think they would have written one about the Manly Seagulls game yet, just because it is on Monday, and I haven't got it. Yeah, they've got Greg Bird out, and Manly have Dylan Walker and Nate Miles out. Obviously, Miles is out for Origin, but I don't really care much for Nate Miles anyway. I think he's a bit of a liability. I think that Nate Miles plays quality footy on the Origin level, but he's a real pain to watch at club level. So the NRL boys at NRL have got the Eels winning by 10 at NRL.com. In the Dragons Storm game, they have the Dragons winning by 6. And if I can get a prediction in the Warriors Roosters game, I don't know if I'll get one. Let's see. Preview? No preview yet. Okay, so they've got the favourites winning the early 2 games. That's about it. That's about all I'm going to say. That's about all I'm going to say with these on this podcast about this weekend's game. As I said, I've got a 30-minute cap on air, so I'm coming up to 30 minutes right now. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this podcast, and then in about a day, or it's certainly before the Friday night kickoff. Obviously, I'm going to be posting a group of picks for the weekend, and if you guys get on them, then the best of luck to you. If you don't like what you've heard on this podcast, then let me know. I guess give me shit if you would like. Whatever floats your boat. I'm just trying to help you guys out. I'd appreciate any feedback. If you want to give it a listen, I would really like that as well. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts on the weekend's games. And right now I'm just trying to help out, trying to get a few plays in to you guys, and just trying to collectively win some money this weekend, on a sport like the NRL that has been so tricky, since the dawn of time. Okay, guys, I'm Jake Humphries, Platinum Sports Picks. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.